So, small group today. So we want to talk about a topic, Armin. We want to start off with this, something that you mentioned in your YouTube a couple of days ago about how you have a tactic um, to help Muslims leave Islam. And Samantha brought up this question, and we're all very interested to see what you
Oh,
want to say about that.
oh, okay. Hold on. So the topic is how to get Muslims to leave Islam.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you want me to give up my secrets. So what? How's it? What is a specific question? Like what in a conversation? What do we when it comes to debating them? When it comes to talking to them?
Well, I remember that you mentioned on YouTube Live that you
Yes.
said you know the exact ways of
Yes.
basically the soft points that the buttons that you can push for them to question things and realize certain things. So
Yes.
I think we want
So
to know more about
okay, so here's what has worked for me. Okay. First of all, you begin with a lot of listening and asking questions. Okay. You don't point out why they're wrong. Okay. You ask questions and you get them to talk about their beliefs a lot. And what you do is you look for things that you could agree on and then you highlight it, right? So you try to hunt for anything that they're saying about their world philosophy that you actually agree with, and then you mention that you agree with that, right? And then you do that for a very, very long time. You have to be very patient. You have to get them to bring their guards down. Okay. If you go on an attack mode, then they're going to get defensive and they're not going to take any skepticism from your side as a friendly inquiry, but as an attack, right? And here, that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is you let them correct you. Okay. So you try to find a way in the conversation for them to say something in respond that you acknowledge that they were right about and that they were right about and you were wrong about, right? So you give them a couple of points like that so that if at any point they they want to learn something from you or acknowledge a mistake from you, they don't see it as a defeat because you have already done that a couple of times, right? So because if before you do that, they would think that if they accept that they're wrong about something, that means that you have won and they have lost. But if a couple of times they correct you and then you accept that they were correct about something and you were wrong about something, so when it comes to their turn for them to admit that they're wrong about something, they will do that more willingly because they don't see it as them losing, because if that's them losing, then you have lost already a couple of times, right? You make them feel like they're in an environment where they're not going to be judged about accepting a mistake because it seems like you have done it so many times, right? So those are the things you do, and then you also try to bring attention to the parts of their belief that you think it's a mistake by, instead of pointing it out that this is a mistake, instead of doing that, what you do is you keep asking, what makes you think that? And for example, sometimes instead of somebody, you ask them if they give you a belief and you ask them how you know that's true, and they tell you, and that you don't say that, because if you say how do you think that's true, or how do you know that's true, they think it's too aggressive. You could say you have to demonstrate curiosity, you have to demonstrate interest, you have to demonstrate that you're interested in them as a person, and them expressing their belief is something that is interesting. You have to show that you're not looking for a way to defeat them, but this is genuine curiosity about their life philosophy. That's what you're doing, right? And then every time you want them to explain why they think their position is justified, you could use words like, oh, that's interesting. And then you ask them, what makes you think that? Because if you just say, how do you know that's true? They hear it as you claiming that they don't have enough justification for it. But if you, for example, say, oh, that's interesting, what makes you think that? They hear it as you being interested in the process that brings them to that point, right? So, and every time you think that the justification is not evidence, like, or it's not a good evidence, or it's not a good justification, right? Instead of saying, well, that's not a good reason, what you do is, oh, and you think that's a strong evidence for this claim? What makes it a strong evidence? So instead of saying this is not a strong evidence for that claim, you say, like, oh, interesting. What do you think makes this a strong evidence? Right. So it's a mix of Socratic method mixed with ways that you show good faith, ways of acknowledging that you're wrong about something, also with showing interest in them as a person. If people feel like you're finding them, even if you don't agree with them, you're finding their views fascinating, then they, and it helps, it helps actually if you do become like you don't, this requires for you to be actually genuinely interested in people, okay? Because if you're trying to fool people and act, none of this will work out unless unless you're a really good actor or a psychopath. The only way this works is for you to actually find people and their beliefs interesting, even if you disagree with them, right? So these are the things I do, and it works. It works like magic. So the key thing is to actually become their friend, even if you find their ideas garbage. And that's the thing that most people don't know how to do. People cannot, if you find somebody's ideas really bad, you find them a person not worthy to befriend with, to befriend. But if you could separate that, if you could think like, yeah, your ideas are garbage, but I could still be your friend. If you could do that, then you could genuinely befriend. Because I think the best way to fight ideas, bad ideas, is to befriend the people who believe them. I genuinely believe that. And I think you can't do it if you're faking it. You genuinely actually have to befriend them. You can't like pretend to be their friend. But this is like, I could go into like examples and stuff if you guys wanted to. Oh, and also Nara, the reason why the crowd is small here is because today is VIP, and the point is to be smaller. Like the point of the VIP crowds is to have a much smaller crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one factor, Armin, that you're leaving out of this is that you have an otherworldly patience that many of us don't possess. So I think that's an important element of the whole thing. Jeff wanted to respond first.
Look at my hair. All very good points. So you very much brought up, or it brought to mind, a couple of key professionals in the field, like FBI negotiator Voss and or CIA interrogators Philip Houston and Case Hughes. So one of the reasons, like going down what Armin said, some of the operational significance of it is, if you let them describe why they do what they do, because that's the idea, is to identify the underlying psychological stressors that are the X factors that underwrite, in this case, well, the motivational bias defined in this case is subscription to Islam. Both like, okay, they've invested so much time in this and all the rest of it. Armin went through this with his own life journey, which I'm not going to speak about because it would not be forgive me, I had that protein shake. It would be impolite of me to do so. As far as like some of the things you talked about, reflecting and diminished, actually that's something that, so it's like non-adversarial, and Yako Williams kind of talks about this, right? Ultimately, they have to own their own deprogramming. That's with anybody. If you're going to deprogram anybody, if you come right out the gate and attack somebody and it's something deeply held they just, and you don't even identify that underlying psychological stressor, they're just going to dig their heels in. And it can be that's very exhausting. It's very time consuming. Sometimes the broader environment doesn't allow for that. Ideally, hopefully, it would be that it would allow for that in it, all the time. So yeah, I mean, all very good points. Well said, Arm.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. Sketch next to respond. And then at the end of the responses, Armin, I'll give you a chance to kind of add to everything people are saying. All right, Sketch.
This doesn't just work in Islam, as Jeffrey went over. You can also take this to people that have been captured by well, let's give it a Marxist ideologies, right? Let's say these are your neighbors, these are your people in your school, and who you have to live with. You get kind of sucked into this kind of lifestyle, and then you discover that it's not just the belief, it's that these are my friends, these are the people around me, these are my family, these are people I love. And you speak against them. You're not only speaking against me, you're speaking of the people who went through thick and thin with me. So we are a brotherhood, and if you go against this, you're going against my brotherhood. That's why it gets deeper, and that's why, you kind of like got to get in there just through asking, because that's going to like put you, you're putting yourself in the position as a student, and you're putting them in a position where they're investing their time in teaching you. So there's a sunk cost fallacy in just getting rid of you and getting away from you. There are other techniques, but they're more involved and they're more, I would say, deceitful. I used to work in sales, and not regular sales, the sales where you do contract stuff. And when you do contract stuff, you go into this stuff that's called neuro-linguistic programming, where you use certain word patterns to get to the people in a state of the mind that makes them more receptive. And then you put anchors and triggers, words into getting them in a state where your influence becomes more acceptable. I read about it. I thought it was interesting, but I don't have the patience for it. People that want to get really deep into like pulling out someone that's in too deep or about to do something crazy might want to look into that. But I don't really know anybody that's in that deep. But I just think it's interesting to also know that you're creating that sunk cost fallacy when you become a student, because they're going to see you as a student. Even if they don't do it consciously, they're going to do it. They have invested a lot of time in explaining a lot to this person, and this person isn't rejecting what I'm saying. They're taking it as lessons. So I'm going to keep this going and keep this conversation going. And then you kind of become, even though you don't share any of those beliefs, you become emotionally similar to those people in the tribe, I would say.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sketch. Sophie is next to respond.
I wanted to ask Armin to please do what he actually ended by suggesting. And I want to give like couple caveat things with this. So I wanted to hear specific examples of things that they say to you and how you handle that. But also because you're coming from the position of being an atheist, I am wondering how to deal with two things. One, which is like all the several categories. Don't ask me to list them. I don't know all the words, but the Kitman and Takia, but like all of the several versions of deception and concealment and Dao type stuff. But also, they often will say they want to know what you are. And I find I don't want to tell them like Christian, because if they say, like, then they start doing this whole thing of like, oh yeah, we're with Jesus too. And we think like, and they try to, and I don't want to hear about zakat. Like that's just charity. Everybody thinks charity is a good idea. So, or 5 pillars of Islam. I'm trying to understand how to handle that kind of thing. And given, if you can give an examples of like what they actually say to you and how you respond. Thank you.
So what are you, for example, are trying to make them question, like in your conversation? Oh, it's okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand.
So like as a Christian, for example, if you're talking to a Muslim, like what are you trying to make them question? Like what are you trying to make them change their mind about? if anything?
I mean, I'm not superhuman like you, and so this idea, I mean, I'm very aware. I mean, I could listen, I could like what you were saying, and I could find my blood pressure rising, and I'm a pretty calm person. But
Mhm.
I realize at this point, especially with what's happening with Iran, I have like just such hostility and resentment, and like I'm so frustrated, and so much hatred about what's going on. And if I just meet somebody, like let's say in the United States, who maybe isn't even
Sure.
from, you know, the evil Iranian regime,
Hmm.
in my experience with Muslims is that this five pillars of Islam, or them telling you like, yeah, like we're just like, you know, we accept all that, but like we're like the new improved version of whatever. The way that they talk, I don't know how to get past like the weird deception stuff, because if I were to say to someone, because I'm genuinely interested, like, why are you Buddhist, or why are you an observant Jew? I get like really good, interesting, authentic, honest answers. And but with Muslims, it's none of that. And I want to not have a bunch of lying conversations. Like that's
Right.
all.
So with
You
Muslims,
do. Everything that you do.
with Muslims, it depends on whether you're talking to a dawa boy, um, a so-called scholar. Like I don't consider them to be scholars. I think it's an insult to the word scholar, right? The ulama, or let's say, one of the ulama or scholars, as they say, a dawa boy or an average Muslim. Okay, which is the vast majority of the Muslims are neither a dawa boy or one of the ulama. Okay, if you're talking to an average Muslim, they have no idea what taqiyya is. They have no idea. The average Muslim has probably first heard about the word taqiyya from an ex-Muslim. Okay, right? I know what the hell is this taqiyya thing, and they went and looked it up. Okay, so if you talk, maybe like if you're talking to Dawa boys, maybe they're doing taqiyya, okay, but not your average Muslim has no idea what the hell you're talking about, right? They're like, "What is that? Is that like a bug or a flower or whatever?" Right? And the average Muslim has no idea about vast majority of Islamic teachings, right? In fact, if you're debating an average Muslim, they probably are going to learn about Islam through that debate with you more than they have ever learned about Islam their entire life. And so, so as I'll tell you some examples regarding my conversations with Muslims is one thing I like. I like to talk about the proof, like why they believe in God a lot, but let's talk about the Quran, for example. One thing that is really easy to talk about and get them a little bit encourage them to become skeptical is that how you know that the Quran is from God, right? And keep and like okay, like the claim is Quran is from God. How do we know that? I'm genuinely, and here's one thing I know that gets their guards down. All right, I tell them that I genuinely would love to be a Muslim if the Quran is genuinely from God. Like I will tell them, like, I want you to believe me that if you could show me, like I'm open-minded. I'm because I said, like, hey, look, I don't believe I have absolute knowledge. This is what I say to a Muslim to bring their guards down, right? I'm I I have flaws. I don't have ultimate logic and ultimate knowledge. I don't know what I'm not 100% sure about anything. So there's a chance that you're right and I'm wrong. And if you're right, I'll give them that. I'm like, there is a chance that me as an atheist is incorrect and you as a Muslim have figured it out and I haven't. And I want to make sure and I want to keep an open mind. And if you're right, I want to know that you're right. So please help me figure out why. How could I tell that the Quran actually comes from God? I mean, I'm going to give them something. I'm going to let's assume that there is a God. Let's assume that there's a God. Let's assume that the God is Allah. How do you know that the Quran came from Allah? Like, how do you know this, right? And obviously, if they say, well, I don't know, it's in the Quran, I'm going to be like, okay, but that, like, I have to show them how that circular reasoning with that, like, I'm not going to go into the, because if I just call out the logical fallacy, that doesn't help, right? I give them examples where, like, well, wouldn't that mean like any book that claims that they're from the God, then wouldn't that book we should also believe that that's from the God? But I will say it in a more polite way. And then if they say, well, Muhammad was always honest, I'm like, okay, yes. He's known that he was known back then that he's honest. He would never lie. Like he was famous for that, right? So there's so many. Again, I'm not going to go into, because I'm not going to say it as this directly. I will walk the conversation towards getting us there. But the issues there, like, okay, Muhammad could have been an honest person that was delusional. Like he could have been very honest, and all of a sudden, I don't know, he just saw things, right? Or that, how do we know that just because we have people claiming that somebody was honest, does that mean that he was honest? Could he have mistaken this? And could he, like, let's say he did get this from on higher power. How do you define God? How do you know a higher power is necessarily God? How do you know it wasn't jinns? How do you know it wasn't demons? How do you know it wasn't a sorcerer? Right? Like we just go through so many different other, like, tell me, like, I'm genuinely want to know, like, how do you know, if you believe in sorcery, how do you know it wasn't a powerful sorcerer? Like you say, like, the Quran is from God because no human could ever write a Quran. Like, it's so miraculous, and there's so many miracles in it, so many, like, there's these numericals and these things that it means that it could have never been written by a human. I'm like, okay, let's accept that. Let's accept that no human could write a God and no human could write the Quran. How do you know it's from God? How do you know it's not from this powerful jinn or this powerful other entity that is not God? How do you know it's not from the devil? Right? Okay, you walk me through this. The Quran is so miraculous that it couldn't have been written by a human. Okay, tell me how you know the devil didn't write it. Like, walk me through it. Walk me through the logic of the devil. How do you exclude that possibility? And it's interesting because most of the time I noticed that they actually never considered any of these other options, right? And by the way, I wouldn't ask it the way I'm asking you right now, because I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. Tell me how you managed to figure out that the devil didn't write the Quran, because the way I'm asking it assumes that they already have figured that out. Okay, like, or they already, I'm giving them the credit of knowing the answer, right? And I'm just trying to discover it. But then all of a sudden they discover that they don't have an answer to this, right? And because I've already admitted some of my mistakes, some things that some profound things that they said before that I found interesting, that I agree with, when I get to these points, many times, actually, I have had so much success with this method. Many times I get them for the first time admitting to a non-Muslim, I've never considered that. These are the moments that they don't tell me like, oh, okay, you're right, I'm wrong. But these are the moments that were like, that's interesting. Nobody has ever asked that. I've never considered that. Okay. And those are the first cracks. And again, this is a long-term investment, by the way. This is not something that you get by, somebody being a, observant Muslim now. And then at the end of the debate, they will be like, okay, good job, Armin. Now I left Islam. These are people that come to me after months or even years and tell me that, Armin, because of you, I left Islam. It took me 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, 8 months. But I know that this works because I have had so many people telling me that these discussions, especially on my Persian channel, these discussions eventually leading them to leaving Islam.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched your Persian channel for years, and I really wish we could translate them to English so that all the English-speaking people can also see, especially with the Akhunds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm watching those. Yes, Jeffrey, I was born and raised there. I do speak Persian. But yeah, like, I'm watching those and I cannot, I'm like, I don't have this patience. No. Johan wants to respond to this.
Yeah, I just wanted to say what's so great with that, what you just said, is that it works on all religions.
Yep. Actually, it works
All
on everything. It works on, if you want to challenge an atheist, it works as well.
Yeah, I agree. Sophie?
I don't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question or explain. So I'm just going to give you the specific because I think it'll be easier this way. So I didn't know anything about Islam. I wasn't around any Muslims at all. And then my state that I happened to be in, where I was taking a car service, they hired people who, for academia, they hired several companies, and they turned out some of them were refugees coming from, in this case, Sudan. I don't know if that helps you or doesn't help you, but so Muslim. And in terms of dawah, what I experienced, not knowing anything besides there's a guy named Muhammad that they have a thing with, and they have a book, and like the Quran, and then they call God Allah. At that point, I didn't even know some Arabic, where I'm just listening politely as a captive audience. I didn't ask for any of this. I don't even remember how they started, but it was like they were trying to sell Islam to me. And so when they were talking about it, what I found that they did, knowing that I was Christian, I don't know if they asked or if they assumed or what it was. They probably asked. But then they started using a bunch of Arabic words where I had to go, wait, I'm sorry, who's Musa? Who's Isa? Like, who, what? And so they would say, oh, like this. And then they'd say like Injil. I'm like, what's that? And like, they'd say the Gospels. And at the time I thought they meant like the New Testament. So if you could, I know it's hard, but if you could put yourself in the position of being a Christian, like, I'm sorry, but like everything that they said to me, I'm not saying they knew Takia, but their message, their way of presenting it, now looking back and remembering verbatim things that they said and how they went about it, was entirely deceptive. It was like a sales thing of like, see, we're like the new improved, we're just the same as you, we include all this stuff. And I don't think these were bad, like they were intentionally trying to be lying, but there's something in their psychology or how they're raised that the way that they present it, it was all lies, like all lies. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm really, but
no.
No.
Be mean.
Yeah.
These are dabble boys. Dabble boy. You could be as mean as you want to dabble boys. All right. So, here's the thing: when it comes to talking to a dabble boy, the calculation completely changes compared to an average Muslim, because they're there with a mission, right? When it comes to an average Muslim, what I'm trying to do is to change the nature of the conversation from me defeating you or you defeating me to just a general conversation about us trying to understand each other. And even if we're not even trying to convince each other. We're just trying to figure out where each one of us are and how we come to conclusions. That's the environment I'm trying to create with an average Muslim when I'm talking to him. With a Dava boy, that if I'm talking to him, he's basically trying to he has a mission there. Okay, he's trying to show you why you're wrong and how Islam, like, you cannot reframe that environment, because that's why he's standing there for. And if you're being recorded, then he's going to try to humiliate you if you don't agree with him, like if he's like many times, right? At least if he can't even convert you, at least he could make good content for his, I don't know, YouTube or whatever, right? So but the problem with a lot of these conversation is that it's claim after claim after claim after claim, and it's not about, okay, but how did you get to that claim? Like, none of these conversations are like, well, this is what God said. Well, this is what God said. Well, that was what. This is the truth. I'm like, okay, I'm not interested in what you believe in. I'm interested in why you believe in what you believe in. Okay, everybody could believe in whatever the hell they want. That is not at all interesting. Show me how you got to that conclusion, right? And if I'm an atheist, if they say, well, God said this, and they're like, hey, you're talking an atheist, like, you first have to, like, well, how is that relevant to me? But if I was a Christian, let me think about it. If I was a Christian, that if I was a Christian and I was talking, if they say, so if I was a Christian, they're going to try to show that the Bible is not a good source. Okay. And they're going to try to keep poking at the Bible and pointing out to the flaws in the Bible as a source of information. Okay. If I was a Christian, I would try to change the conversation If I'm not somebody experienced in defending Christianity, okay, because probably somebody who's experienced in defending Christianity, they will have responses to what, no, the Bible is a good source for this, and this reason. But if I'm not an experienced debater, I'm like, you know what? Let's just assume that the Bible is not a good source of information. Okay. It could be like, you know what? I'm not an experienced debater. So let's just assume it's not. You tell me why the Quran is. Okay. You want to put them on the defensive instead of you being on the defensive for the Bible, because you could poke at the Quran. Even if you're not an experienced debater, it's easier to point to why them just accepting Islam as a good source of information is weak, rather than having the defensive position of defending the Bible. Unless you know how to do that, I would be just give that up as just, let's assume that, make them defend Quran rather than letting them make you defend the Bible. That's what I would do if I was a Christian. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I just it's more that they're not them talking about the Bible, but sorry, just that they're trying to say, oh, well, we accept the stuff that Jews do, we accept the stuff that Christians do because, you know, Abraham and Jesus. And I'm like, and I've now learned that that's like not at all true. So it's just frustrating that like I
would be like, I would in a polite way, maybe I would try to show them like, I don't care what you think about Jesus and Abraham. I care about how do you know what you know is true. Like, oh, we love Jesus. Okay. Okay. We love Abraham. We love Moses. Okay. Like, I don't care. I don't care what you claim to believe. I want to know what's the source. Like, how do you know the things that you claim is true is true? Stop giving me a list of your beliefs. That is not interesting to me. I want to know the process that you go through to figure out whether the beliefs that you have are actually true. Like, show me the process. Show me your homework, right? Don't give me the answer. Show me how the process in which, it's like a math teacher, right? If you just put like 20 in an answer to, like, they were like, what the hell? What is this? How did you get there? You have to show me the work, right? Okay.
Yes, and I was just saying in the chat that this sounds like a lot like a average Easter dinner conversation in our household. But mostly me triggering all my family. Jim wanted to respond as well.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic because I really wish more people in the United States and Westover overall would understand what religion is really about, kind of cutting to the core of it. It's very difficult to get there politely. That's why I struggle with this even with friends. But to me, religion at the end of the day, it's not about the theology. It's not about the afterlife. It's not necessarily even about God. I mean, it is. But if you really want to understand the core of any religion, you got to remember not all secular prophets are bad, number one, and not all religious prophets are good, number two. So to me, religion at the end of the day is all centered on the man who founded it. So in Islam, it's Muhammad ibn Abdullah. It's the life teachings and the moral example of his life as lived. So when people actually look at Muhammad's life from birth to death objectively, they can't, from the Muslim sources themselves, you can't conclude anything other than to Western standards, he is not a moral man. He is an evil man. I mean, this goes for examples like, there was a crazy Hindu guru back in the 80s in Oregon, Osho. You look into his poisonings and all this assassination and all this cult behavior he was doing in the state of Oregon, clearly an evil man. Same thing with Jim Jones's twisted version of Christianity in the Jonestown Massacre. And I think, Jeffrey, if you and I remember that right, I think he even left, strangely enough, his last will and testament that all of his life savings would go to the Soviet Union, if I remember right. Total batshit crazy man. But as I'm saying, overall, the proof is in the pudding of how the man lived and what he taught. That, to me, at the end of the day, is the be all and end all of any religion.
Thank you, Jim. Sketch wanted to say a couple of words. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk specifically about debating dawas. Now, you can see on David Wood's channel, Apostate Prophets channel, God Logic's channel, Inspiring Philosophy's channel, it is dangerous to debate a dawa because when they do this, they tend to be filming. If you are at all successful, they will try to find out where you work, find out where you live, have people call your work and get you fired. Debating a dawa is not at all, not even close to debating a regular Muslim. I would advise against it. I would not even talk to dawas. Dawas tend to record themselves. If you're just finding someone on a corner trying to like corner you into getting into their religion, I would just step away, say you're busy, I have somewhere to go, I have something to do, I have an appointment. I would just get away because it's very, very different. And all these people I'm talking about, they have had this problem with them. You can't honestly debate them because they're going to take it to a personal level and they're going to try to like cancel you. So I just wouldn't even engage. A regular Muslim, a regular Christian knows more about the Bible than a regular Muslim knows about the Quran. You can have that talk with them. It's not going to be the same as a dawah. And maybe Armin can back me up a little because he probably knows about it more than me.
No, you're completely right. Especially if you're a woman, don't debate dawah boys at all. For sure. For
So
your
you're
own
saying I
safety.
shouldn't challenge Daniel Hariraju?
No. Oh my God. Yeah, no, don't please do that. I mean, unless you have really good security and
I would never,
no,
honestly.
yeah.
Like I said, I don't have that patience. Armin, you wanted to respond next. You're next.
Yeah, so a couple of things that I forgot to mention, and because people were talking, reminded me. First of all, being successful when it comes to talking to an average Muslim and trying to get them to become skeptical about their beliefs is completely different from, having a show and debating a Muslim. Okay, when you're having a show and you're debating a Muslim, you're trying to do something else. You're trying to show to your audience that this man or this woman is wrong, right? And you know that the person that you're talking to and your patience should be a lot less because your audience is not going to be watching your conversation. It's not like you're going to have 6 months or 2 years with this person for your audience continuing to follow your conversations and see where this goes after 2 years. Okay, you have a 2-hour debate and you're trying to your target is not the person you're debating. Your target is the audience, and to your audience you're trying to show that this person's views are retarded, and your main goal is not to change the opinion of the person you're talking to. You're just trying to put a video out there that convinces some of the audience who might be on the fence that, okay, yeah, these are garbage beliefs, right? So that's a completely different goal that you have there. And this is why many debates on YouTube against Muslims, they're really good debates, and the person who's debating the Muslim are really doing a good job for a YouTube channel. But that's not the same tactic that you would use if you're basically talking to an average Muslim and investing the patience and time to try to convince them out of Islam. Those great debaters that you're mentioning, they're doing a really good job for creating the content that needs to be on YouTube or on debate shows. That's not the same method that you should be using when you're talking to somebody if you really want to invest in them to change their mind. And also to what Jim said, it's actually very correct. I enjoy philosophical discussions, so sometimes I take it too much towards how do you know there's a God? How do you know if Quran is from God? But many times when you talk about the moral teachings of Islam, that's when you have the most success with convincing Muslims out of Islam, when you zero in on those and you find the God being unjust or Muhammad being unjust. And again, you don't just say these things. Again, you use the same Socratic method, but more people have an easier time understanding why this is batshit crazy that Muhammad did this, or is so batshit crazy for Allah to give that command. People have an easier time to get to that understanding for why Islam is wrong because of the moral positions of Muhammad or Allah. You get there faster than philosophical arguments over the existence of God, or whether like proof that Muhammad was a prophet or that Quran was from Allah. I just enjoy those conversations more, but every time I go to moral discussions, I see better results because it's easier for people to. Because here's the thing, intelligence might not be that common, but kindness is. Okay, people understand. People can understand why when something is unfair faster than why something is philosophically unreasonable, right? And I appreciate people's kindness more than their intelligence anyway. So I should lean more into that, given that that has produced better results.
Thank you, Armin. Jeff, quickly, just a few words because we have to move on to the next topic.
I was just going to ask if you could just briefly explain what a Dawa boy is. I mean, I've heard of Dawa bros, like douchebags on the street corner. I don't know what a Dawa boy is.
Oh, it's just a more insulting way of talking with that, it's just like, I don't know, it's the same thing. That's the same thing. Davo boy. I mean, I've never seen a Davo girl, so we call them Davo boys. It's the same thing. I don't know. Yeah, but now that you asked that, let me tell you that there's an internal war between the ulama and Davo boys. Okay, the ulama, the religious scholars. Okay, so the religious scholars always sometimes come out and say that these Davo boys don't have any clue what they're talking about. They haven't had the training. They did not nuance about Islam. Their knowledge is very limited. And them, channels like Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa or Smile to Jannah, they're actually in embarrassing Islam because they're not a religious scholar and they should leave Islamic teaching to religious scholars, right? But then the Dawa boys come out and say, maybe you should stay in your lane, but they say it not in that way, but they suggest it because they don't want to be insulting to religious scholars because that would be taboo. But their hidden message is that you should just go study Islam and leave the marketing to us because you don't know how YouTube works. You don't know how social media works. You don't know how to make Islam sound cool. That's our area of expertise, and you don't understand that. So stay in your lane.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next topic. Armin, the next topic is Noah, who wants to talk about Trump's Security Council.
Trump's Security Council about what? Trump's Security Council?
Yeah. Are you talking about the one from when today, Noah?
So I just put the link. It's from Axios via Iran International. He is supposed to hold a situation room meeting with his top national security team on Tuesday to discuss options for military action. So I know we keep saying it could be this weekend, it could be, whenever, but I mean, this is still pretty interesting. I didn't know if you knew about it, Armin, but
you want me to read it so that we could all talk?
Yeah, if you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Okay, so it's this is really new. So thank you, Noah, for bringing this to our attention because it's really fresh.
You're welcome.
So Trump to hold Tuesday meeting on Iran military options. So U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to hold a situation room meeting with his top national security team on Tuesday to discuss options for military action, Axios reported, citing 2 U.S. officials. And again, remember, guys, we have to always be careful with Axios because they haven't been they sometimes exaggerate or make stuff up, so we have to be careful with this. But that was it. That was a very short article. They posted it as an article, but it's only one paragraph. Okay, so go ahead, Noah.
Yeah, so I know we all keep thinking it's going to be happening very soon. Do we think it's going to be this week? Or do we think it's going to be in a few weeks? The action. So, I know it's hard to tell. I know it's always hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. And I see Jeffrey put a 2 in the chat, so I'm interested to see what he has to say. But the people are saying that it's gonna President Trump is going to attack the Islamic Republic soon. They point out to a lot of information coming out from Israel suggesting that the people there are getting ready for an attack, and the people who suggest that no, it's going to take a while, are saying that the President Trump's recent post saying calm before the storm means that we're in the calm period and the storm is yet to come. And also his latest post on, let me actually look at the Truth Social post, the last two most important Truth Social posts by Donald Trump. Again, I really don't know. And honestly, I think that the whole point is not to be able to tell, right? So President Trump 3 hours ago posted, for Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or there won't be anything left for them. Time is of the essence. President Donald J. Trump. So I don't know if this means that we're going to give them some time, or because it seems like when he says fast, that means that there's no much time. But the fact that he's giving them any time suggests that it's not going to happen within the next, I don't know, 24 hours or so, or not this week or so. And there was another important post that President Trump had where he was basically standing in a ship, like it was a meme, it was an AI meme, and he was standing on top of on a warship with the military commander behind him, saying the calm before the storm. So yeah, I don't know what this means, and I don't think we can really guess. I think the only person who knows when this is going to happen is President Trump. I don't think anybody, even within the administration, knows exactly when Trump is going to pull the trigger. But yeah, let's see what other people have to say.
Sketch is first, and then it's Jeff. Sketch.
Yes, I think part of this calculus will have to take in BRICS and the breakup of BRICS. BRICS is having a lot of problems. They just had a meeting where they couldn't even get a statement out. It seems like Iran was trying to blame the UAE, but India is in there too, and they just fired on one of their ships. So I'm sure India wasn't going to be on board with any broad statements that Iran was trying to get by. And I think that this calculus about how these other nations will either participate, assist, or not assist Iran, or who, where these leanings are going to go, are going to be very important, especially when you look at economic theory, because BRICS is basically, let me see, I got an explanation here. BRICS goal is to build an anti-Western power bloc, weaken US-led finance, push global South influence, use local currencies, and reform global institutions. Right? They're basically China, Russia, Iran is, that's kind of like some of the people that are in there, but they're basically falling apart because this is they're united in their hate and opposition of something. They're not united in having a lot in common, right? So when you just have one goal that is like going against this thing, but you don't have other underlying things that unite you, it's a very brittle framework for unity. And BRICS has been having a lot of problems. One of them is this. I think the BRICS nations have less unity, and some of them are starting to favor operations with the USA, maybe in assistance. And I think there's also talks, I don't know if Dom talked about this earlier, that there's some talks with getting Israel. I hope he puts a 2 in. I think he was talking about this earlier about us having a base there, which would let us park jets there. I think that we were talking something about that. That would also be something that we would take into calculus, a reason to have this meeting and put all of these things into perspective. If we're going to discuss this, that's something I would think of.
Thank you, Sketch. Jeffrey.
So all good points. A lot of the indicators that we talked about yesterday are going up. So you have 6 that kind of jump out at me. First is President Trump's rhetoric is the sharpest yet. Clock is ticking. Full destruction is coming. He went pretty hard today. He also, you have what Armin had stated. He kind of, cited a couple of those things. You have the regime remnants are issuing direct threats of a surprising new strategy, which means they keep testing U.S. resolve, which is not a good idea for them. They don't want to meet 72 goats. U.S. lawmakers are signaling that, yeah, it's very clear negotiations have quote unquote hit a wall. The United States needs to eliminate the remaining regime. As far as Pentagon readiness and strike planning leaks, that again, fresh confirmations, that both carrier strike groups and or B-52 bombers are fully positioned for immediate kinetic ops. Reports are starting to circulate around about finalizing options, which is why he's doing the meeting. You have the special forces raids, all the rest of that. You have kind of the ongoing Hormuz reconstruction and blockade drama that's going on. So, the Mullah regime is like, oh my God, we've deployed our midget subs and we're going to, they keep poking and prodding. And Donald's getting sick of that shit. Here's the other one. So a lot of the open intelligence assessments, particularly on aerial tankers and refuelers, they in the past 24 hours show a massive tanker surge. Over a dozen KC-135s and KC-46s are orbiting the Gulf right now. Some are declaring emergencies and vanishing off radar. That's classic prep for extended bombing runs of whatever's left of the regime. So what do I think? I think it's going to be, looking at those indicators, I can say with a very high degree of human certainty, there's a very high degree of probability that kinetic operations are going to resume very quickly. It will be days, not weeks. Probably sometime this upcoming week is where most of it kind of shakes out. And if it is and they go in the maximalist approach, the regime's going to be dead in 5 days.
And like I said, if that happens, Jeff, I'll buy you lunch. Daniel Jones. Oh, I'm sorry. Armin wanted to respond.
Well, okay. By the way, in the YouTube chat, people were talking about the effect of the Islamic Republic just the drone attack on UAE's nuclear plant. That was a big deal. So Mythic Mix is wondering if that's going to impact USA responding. I think it obviously has some influence. That's like, it's getting ridiculous how much this. I mean, this is an attack on a nuclear plant. So that is a big deal. But let me actually go through the list of the reasons people are giving for why the attack is imminent and why the attack is not against the attack being this week or in a few days. So let me actually do the against one first. So the first reason people give that the attack is not close, U.S. attack on the Islamic Republic is not close, is back channel negotiations have not completely collapsed. Pakistan's interior minister arrived in Tehran over the weekend to facilitate emergency peace talks and salvage a diplomatic resolution between U.S. and Iranian negotiators. So that's the one. And then there's hopes for a diplomatic breakthrough. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright stated over the weekend that a diplomatic agreement could still emerge in the next few days. He emphasized that a negotiated settlement remains the heavily preferred option to avoid the massive economic fallout of forcing open the blockaded Strait of Hormuz militarily. And then lastly, the high risk of severe retaliation. Military and intelligence assessments published over the weekend revealed that Iran remains highly resilient. Tehran has successfully restored operational access to 30 of its 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz and still retains 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile, meaning an immediate U.S. strike could trigger a catastrophic counteroffensive. So these are the arguments people say give against, but here are the arguments for an attack happening very soon. Number one is President Trump's direct ultimatum. On Sunday, May 17th, basically just recently, President Trump issued a fierce warning on Truth Social, stating that for Iran, the clock is ticking and they must act fast or there won't be anything left of them. This signals that Washington's patience with stalled negotiation has run out. So that's number one. Then we have scheduled military meetings. Behind the scenes, U.S. officials confirmed on Sunday that Trump has ordered a high-level situation room. This is what Noah by the way, this just happened. So Noah just brought this to our attention. High-level situation room meeting with top national security advisors for Tuesday, May 19th, specifically deliberate immediate military action options. And then we have fresh regional escalation. Tensions spiked sharply on Sunday after a drone. Oh, this is what Mythic was bringing up in the YouTube chat. Tension spiked sharply on Sunday after a drone strike hit a generator outside a nuclear power plant in Abu Dhabi, and an action the UAE condemned as a dangerous escalation. Concurrently, Iran-backed Hezbollah fired roughly 200 projectiles over the weekend, severely fracturing the fragile regional ceasefire. One thing about BRICS, when we talk about BRICS was never. I never took BRICS ever seriously. I mean, you have India and China in there. Like these are like military. These are military adversaries in the same group. Like what the hell? How is that going to work out? And also, there's no political ideology or goal or anything that binds these countries together. So I never took BRICS seriously. Maybe I don't know, but yeah. Okay.
All right, Jeff, you're next to respond again, and then we have Kat and Guy. Go ahead.
Real quick. So, yeah, like the Mullah remnants striking a civilian nuclear power plant with drones constitutes an unacceptable risk, which is almost assuredly underwriting the current President Trump's administration, and they're calculating what they need to do. I would contend it just shows that the regime remnants have to die, and that's where that has to go. I mean, they'll have regime apologists say, but you struck Fordo Isfahan. Not the same thing, dickhead. Not the same thing. You have a civilian power plant, right, that doesn't make nuclear weapons, is not buried underground. It did not have like enriched uranium between 60 and 90%. And Fordo Isfahan and Natanz very much illegally enriching uranium beyond 60 to 90%, very much a nuclear weapons facility. Not the same shit. Just saying, like, clearly that strike serves to underwrite why finally, further underwrite why the Mullah regime has to go, or the regime remnants have to go.
Okay, thank you. Kat, you wanted to respond?
Yeah, what Jeffrey said actually really surprised me because that's exactly what I saw. And I'm not like even looking all the time. I had like this stupid hobby of like looking sometimes, and I saw a tanker vanishing after putting a SOS signal in the Persian Gulf. And I saw, guys, yesterday night they had like a row of like 12 tankers going one after another, 12 in like this line from Ramstein to the Persian Gulf. Actually, it was back, which was kind of confusing because it can also be seen like they're going away. And people said it, but I don't believe it because, first of all, people are like a little of faith. And also, it can be a trick. But they're actually, sometimes you see a lot, and sometimes they're like running away altogether. Crazy stuff. But I see a lot of activity from the countries in the Persian Gulf. Iraq is crazy. You have so many US aircraft on the border of Iran.
True.
Crazy. And many more. I don't know. I didn't plan on saying it, so I don't remember every detail. But yeah, crazy stuff. But also, I was wondering why did they all vanish in the last couple of hours? Because in the morning everything was lit. It was crazy.
That's actually.
I know. I'm too excited.
Yeah. No, but thank you, Kat, for keeping an eye on the movements in the area. That's always very helpful.
I'll also, give it a week and I will have enough of it,
Yeah. Just wanted to also thank Dom. Dom Dividend just gave us a super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dom. Appreciate that. Got our first super chat for the day on this stream. Okay. Who's next?
Guy is next to respond, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
One thing I'm not getting, and maybe some of y'all can enlighten me. So like I saw Trump's truth today about clock is ticking. You should change however you phrase it, but essentially the underlying message was, take the deal now before it's too late. And my reaction was just groaning, because I don't think rhetorically it still serves him to take that route, for anyone. Like, let's say you've decided to bomb them. They have given you all the excuses you need. It's like, even for your own supporters, this to me is like, in America, let's say isolationists, this is starting to look like being weak. And no matter what happens, it's going to stay the way it looks. Because, okay, well, I begged and they didn't come to the table, so I had to strike them. It's already at that point where enough, they don't want the deal. And I don't see any upside to the messaging anyway, like, other than actually saying, please make the deal. And there was a regime, IRGC linked media, this is Iran International, says US sets 5 conditions on Iran proposals. And one of those was that they wouldn't pay reparations, but they would unfreeze frozen funds, which is essentially paying reparations. Now, I know we can't trust IRGC linked media, but I have seen this this type of information floating from several different directions, some of them more reliable than others. And I'm just wondering, like, maybe he does really want a deal and is willing to pay like $20 billion to get it. What do you think?
Okay. I do believe President Trump does really want a deal. I do believe that. Okay. The thing is that the type of the deal that he wants is going to crush the Islamic Republic.
Even if they get 20 billion?
I haven't seen anywhere him wanting to give them 20 billion. Is your source Farce News? Because that's what are you getting?
No, obviously I wouldn't. IRG Central would not be a reliable source for me. No, it was other sources that are usually more trustworthy. Unfortunately, I can't remember them off the top of my head.
This would be headlines. This would be giant news everywhere if there was any indication that, like, I haven't seen that. Okay,
I've seen it in I-24 news, but it was a while ago, so I can try pulling it up. But
I mean, I remember at one point people suggesting that Axios, like people were quoting Axios, that's what President Trump wanted to do, and then the White House and President Trump came out and denied it, right? So I-24 sometimes like quotes Axios, right? And Axios is not really reliable these days. I don't know if they were ever reliable. But also see this other comparison of US demands and the Islamic Republic demands coming out, the 5 points of United States and 5 points of the Islamic Republic. And that the US demands that this is also something that is a lot more flexible from the US side. But if you look at this, is circulating everywhere, and if you look at every single one of them, the source of them is Farce News. And as you know, Farce News is the IRGC, right? The two most important media of IRGC is Tasnim and Farce News, right? So this is what people are quoting. And by the way, guys, I see the super chats. I'm going to read them soon and respond to them. But let me tell you what these are. So the US demands from it says Iran, meaning the Islamic Republic. So these are the 5 that they're saying is the new US demands. And we have to see if they confirm this or not. But 1, no compensation or damages paid to Iran. So this contradicts the idea, even if we believe Farce News, which we won't. Because Farce News is trying to show that United States is getting closer to the Islamic Republic position. So not even Farce News is suggesting that there will be any compensation by United States, right? So no compensation or damages paid to Iran. 1. 2, Iran transfers 400 kilograms of uranium to the United States. It's interesting that it says 400 kilograms instead of 440 kilograms, because the total is 440, not 400. And then it says only one nuclear facility allowed to remain active. So this is crazy. This suggests that the Americans' new position is that the Islamic Republic gets to have a nuclear facility, but only one. Again, I'm seeing this being shared everywhere, and the only source is Fars News, and Fars News is IRGC. So even Fars News trying to show the United States being more flexible, they're showing it in number 3, only one nuclear facility allowed to remain active, not in the compensation segment. Okay, so that's number 3. 4, none of Iran's frozen assets released, so no compensation and no release of frozen assets. 5, ceasefire conditional on negotiations not guaranteed. So those are the 5 U.S. demands from the Islamic Republic according to IRGC. And the Islamic Republic 5 conditions are full ceasefire on all fronts, especially Lebanon. For some goddamn reason, especially Lebanon all the time, which again shows that their priority is Lebanon rather than their own the country that they're supposed to be ruling over. So full ceasefire on all fronts, especially Lebanon, 1. 2, lifting of all anti-Iranian sanctions, their words, not mine. 3, release of frozen Iranian assets. 4, compensation for war damages. 5, and this is the wording here, I'll tell you what this means. 5, recognition of Iran's sovereignty of the Strait of Hormuz, meaning that they get to control the Strait of Hormuz forever and collect tolls and everything. So those are the 5 conditions. So I don't believe this unless something comes out and we realize that this is true. Okay, because the source, obviously, I'm not gonna believe them. But even if it was true, they're still so far away. Like, even if for some goddamn, like, even from some crazy reason, President Trump has come and said the new position is that the Islamic Republic can't enrich uranium for 20 years instead of forever. And, or maybe even worse, that they get to have one nuclear facility remain active. That's worse than, basically, this suggests that this would be worse than the JCPOA. This would be worse than the Obama deal if this was the case, which this is why it's impossible to believe, right? But even if this was the case, the Islamic Republic even agreeing to this would destroy the legitimacy in the minds of their regime supporters. Like, they will lose all credibility and legitimacy among their own followers, even if they agree to this. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Sketch is first to respond, and then Jose, and then do you want to stay on this topic, or should we move on after that, Armin? I think we should move on.
Okay, well, you're the mod, so we'll follow your...
Yeah, so let's have Sketch and Jose respond, and then we'll move on. Go ahead, Sketch.
On Trump, I don't think Trump is talking to his base. I don't think Trump is talking to anyone in America. I don't think he's even talking to the Europeans or anyone. I think he's talking to the IRGC. Like, your last chance to make a deal, to get them think there's some kind of deal on the table. I don't think there is a deal on the table that US, that IRGC would accept. I think, like Armin said, they're too far apart. But you have this, you sometimes people think Trump is doing things for their base that would irritate their base. Like Guy said, he's frustrated. I guarantee you, Americans just want this over with, and not over with we leave, over with we leave with the win. All right. His base doesn't want him wishy-washy 20 last chances. I don't believe in 20 last chances. You get one last chance. You don't get 20. So we don't like this. Like, as a conservative, I don't like it. There's some extreme in the far right that are anti-Israel. That is not most conservatives. That is a minority of conservatives. Just like happens on the left. Actually, I think the left has a little bit more crazies, but it's not the majority of conservatives that believe this, just like it's not the majority of liberals, what we call liberals in America, that believe in the extreme stuff. Most conservatives want this to be over. They don't hate Iran, they don't hate Israel, and they want this war over with a win. They want this regime change. They don't want the IRGC in there anymore. They're kind of sick of this. And I think this messaging is like a trick on Iran. I don't think it's really about a message to anyone else.
Okay, thank you. Jose.
I just want to remind everyone that the points that the Iranian, or excuse me, our IRGC negotiators from the very beginning have never changed except the amount has gone up. Not once. They have never compromised or shown desire to compromise. What Sketch was talking about, the Republican base, that has been pissing us off from the beginning. They're not willing to negotiate at all. They're just wasting time. Fine. That's what the Republican base is getting tired of. Trump will probably end up getting impeached by the Republicans, not the Democrats, if he so much as betrays the trust that he's been asking us to show him. Okay? And that's what I wanted to say there. You go through it, you finish it, one way or another. Personally, he might be setting up this meeting for Tuesday, but where did it come out? Axios. So do I believe it? Not a bit in hell. Second, Thursday, the Senate tried to stop Trump on any further Iranian action and lost, thanks to Senator Fetterman, who made it a 58-49 vote without the vice president voting. Okay? That was an attempt on the Wars Powers Act to stop it. It failed miserably. And that's with 3 Republicans jumping to the Democratic side. Okay? So I think this might be a little about 5D chess again. And the attack will be tonight or tomorrow, long before Tuesday. That's all.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's go.
Thank you. I know. Let's go. Finish it. Armin, you wanted to read some super chats?
Yeah, just 3 super chats. We got 4 super chats today, guys. Thank you so much. Sarah is saying, Armin, when I imagine the great liberation, oh, I get so emotional. A liberation of Iran. She's saying, have you imagined it and played it in your mind too? Yep. Nara, have you? Yes. What
For
a
years
moment
we have. For years.
Yes. What a moment it will be. The one moment that I have been imagining in my mind over and over and over again is Iranians all around the world, inside Iran, outside of Iran, glued to TVs, their phones, or watching Prince Reza Pahlavi's plane, just tracking it, moving from United States to Tehran. Everybody, like the cameras in Tehran and the airport, just waiting for his plane to land. Everybody there, the people at the crowds at the airport, us watching, tracking the plane, saying he's 1 hour away, 30 minutes away from Tehran. He landed in Tehran, the door opening, him stepping foot inside Iran. That's the moment that I'm imagining. The entire crowd, the people from all over Iran who are going to be traveling to Tehran to see this historic moment, to watch Pahlavi come back to Iran. That's the time. That's what I've imagined in my mind over and over again. So, Sarah, thank you so much for that. Oh my God, that giving me goosebumps. Okay. Okay, Jedi in the chat is saying those Noah and Jeffrey guys seem smart. Okay, Noah, Jeffrey, you guys, Jedi thinks you're smart. Thank you, Jedi, for the super chat. And we have Dominic saying, I convinced my Bobcat to side with us, Javid Shah. Okay. Well, that's some really impressive debate skills. And thank you for the super chats. Okay, so what is the next topic?
Next topic is by Daniel Dome, and he wants to talk about the IRGC attack on the UAE nuclear plant.
The IRGC
So,
attack
in the
on
news,
the UAE nuclear power plant. Okay.
yeah, it was in the news, but like I understood that they were actually doing it for a quite long period of time, but only in the last days it started to be like on the news. So if that not a good reason to renew the fightings, so I don't know what a good reason is.
Well, remember that the Arabs were a bit frustrated with President Trump for the previous attacks on UAE. Not when that happened, I don't know. Remember, there were the previous attack on UAE. There was a big attacks happening, and they asked President Trump if that means that the ceasefire is over, and he said no. That pissed them off, and that's why Saudi Arabia and Kuwait refused access to President Trump for a short while. They went back to giving him access again for using their U.S. air bases and airspace of their countries for Project Freedom. So President Trump is just doing his thing based on his own timeline. Like, he's not going to adjust based on what the Arab countries want him to do. I think he has his own plans, and he's just going to stick with his plan. So that's what I'm thinking. And yeah, what do you guys think? Anybody has any other opinions?
I don't see any twos in the chat.
Yeah. So the thing is that a lot of these Arab countries think that this is a violation of the unwritten agreement between the United States and the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf. That was the whole reason behind having the petrodollar, before this that United States will provide security in the region, and these countries will sell their oil in US dollars. The thing is that their reliance on US security is now much more than US reliance on them backing the US dollar and providing oil to United States. So that deal between these Arab countries and United States historically was an equal, like, we rely on you and you equally rely on us. And that is not equal anymore. United States has way more oil than before. The whole world's economy is much less reliant on, much more efficient. So oil prices doesn't affect it. It still affects it a lot, but not like it used to. And so United States needs them a lot. And the US dollar, the strength of the US dollar is not, the US dollar is not the petrodollar that it used to be. Okay, the strength of the US dollar is based on so many factors beyond the fact that people buy and sell oil in USD. So they need the United States, but however, on the other hand, these Arab countries have not become self-reliant when it comes to defense at all. Not even right. In fact, they become more reliant over these years on United States security. So them relying more on United States over these years and United States relying on them less means that the United States can do what it wants. And these countries could just cry about it a little bit. I mean, they could be like, "Oh, you don't get to use my airspace," but that only lasted for 24 hours. Okay, so I'm sure United States has a lot more leverage over them to get those bases back. At the end of the day, what are you going to do about it, right? Like, if you're Saudi Arabia, if you're Kuwait, if you're the UAE, okay, United States is not, like, who else are you going to go to? Are you going to go to Russia for security? Russia couldn't even compete with the French in Africa when it comes to providing security. So the African, like Mali, kicked out the French. The French, okay, the French. The Mali kicked out the French and replaced them with the Russians to provide security for them against Al Qaeda. Mali is now been taken over by Al Qaeda. right? So the Russians couldn't do shit against Al Qaeda. Like and at least the French were better at the Russians when it comes to providing security. So I mean, yeah. So who are you gonna? Are you gonna go to China for security? Who are you gonna go to? Who's gonna provide? China is having a difficulty figuring out if they're ever gonna have the upper hand in the South China Sea over United States in their own backyard. Okay, obviously they're not going to have the upper hand, to United States. They're not going to be able to show this global military presence like the US. Like no country is even close to be able to demonstrate this level of global military presence. If China is only hoping one day maybe they could have the upper hand only in their own backyard. Okay, so China will not be able to come and rescue you. China could sell you weapons, inferior weapons to American weapons, but nobody could replace United States security services. So what they're going to do? You always have to. You could try for a while to diversify your security and go to other countries, and then you always have to realize that you have to. I mean, and America doesn't like this. Actually, America doesn't like the fact that there's nobody else. Okay, they actually try to get. I mean, a lot of people think America wants to be the only global security provider. They don't like it. They're like, what the fuck? Like, why do our taxpayers have to keep paying for global security? They're actually trying to get other countries to spend more on their security so that they could actually get other people involved. They're trying to get Taiwan to spend more on their security. They're trying to get NATO countries to spend more of their GDP on their security. That's why they love Poland. They're like, hey, everybody in Europe, be more like Poland, right? So everybody act like Poland, spend more on your security. Why do we have to come and save? This is the whole point of the Abraham Accord. The whole point of Abraham Accord is like, you guys need to learn how to clean up the Middle East instead of calling us every time something gets chaotic over here, right? So this is why Israel is such a good role model for an ally of United States. Okay, when it comes to, nobody has ever been able to demonstrate more than Israel when it comes to providing, fighting evil in their region without completely, like the relationship between Israel and United States is not one-sided where United States is doing everything. United States relies on Israel as much as Israel relies on United States. Sometimes actually the relationship is so one-sided against Israel. Like Israel is actually contributes so much more than their fair share. And there's all other countries, if you look at their security relationship with the United States, is United States that is doing the most and they're benefiting the most. But when it comes to Israel, it's the only country that is the other way around. And that's why they're such a model ally of the United States.
Okay, so now we have two people who want to respond, and then after these two, we'll move on to the next topic. Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I thought Saudi Arabia got rid of the petrodollar in like 2018 or 2019 when you were talking about that. And also I do agree with you on that. A lot of Americans do not want to be the world's police, even though we kind of seem we have to be, because we have to be everywhere and we are everywhere. But my response was mainly to the petrodollar. I thought the petrodollar died when Saudi Arabia abandoned it years ago, which was like 2018 or 2019, I think. Trying to remember.
I mean, not. I mean, this is like a more of a spectrum rather than a binary yes or no thing, right? So, are you talking about what event that you're talking about? The social media claims that said that back then in 2024. What year are you talking about? That the petrodollar treaty expired? Those were just social media posts. There was never.
Oh, those are just social media.
Yeah, there was never a formal like the petrodollar was not based on an written formal agreement with a due date.
Oh, okay.
It's not It was never a treaty. It was just based on this was an informal agreement. like in the 70s. It was never, that's why I said the unwritten agreement between United States and the Arab countries. So this idea that the Arab countries will buy oil in US dollars and United States will exchange, like in exchange, United States will provide security services. This was never a signed treaty or anything. We're having a slow shift away from that, but it was never a treaty that expired or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Daniel Dome, very quickly because we have about 35 minutes left.
Yeah, I get it. It just looks like until something really bad doesn't happen, like stuff doesn't move. But hope it's my perspective only. Hope stuff are better.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I know it's frustrating to wait, but yeah.
Okay, Sadato's new topic is objectives of a popular uprising.
Objectives of popular uprising in Iran?
I'm assuming so, yes. Sadato? Is he here? Actually, I don't see him.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, moving on. Sketch your new topic. Reliable sources on Iran.
Oh, hold on. Let me write this down. Reliable sources on Iran.
Yes. Go ahead, Sketch.
Yes, I'm trying to find more reliable sources when it comes to news from Iran. A lot of the sources I'm finding are in Persian, and this is not a promotion for my channel, but you guys know that I'm kind of trying to get these translated, and I'm having great difficulty finding Persians to help me know what they consider a reliable source. I through ChatGPT, I found some. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. Here's one. This guy is from, I think the channel's called Iran International. These are some I'm putting in the chat, but I just need any help. I've tried to just check the comments, see if anybody suggests anyone. I'm not finding anything. I'm trying to translate it because basically, other than Iran Revolution Live and Tusi, I'm not finding a lot of sources in English that I would myself trust, and I don't know who to trust in Persian. You guys know I like Vaisi. I put him in accidentally.
So for news, okay. So for news, Iran International, both English and Persian. The Persian post like on X could be just translated to English, so that's a good source, right? There are some. Let me look at the list. Hafizeh Tarihi. So hold on. HAFEZEHTA. Okay, TARIKHI. Okay, so actually Hafizeh then underscore Tarihi. That's a really good source. Vahid Online for sources on anything Iran related is really good. Iran related. Savak Zadeh, so SAVAKZADEH is really good. Prince Reza Pahlavi, at Pahlavi Reza is a really good source, obviously, but also his communication account. Let me see his communication account. What is his communication account? Okay, here. Reza Pahlavi Communications. So Pahlavi Comms is the handle. If you search for that, that's really good. Let me see what else we have for sources. This is in Persian. It's not an but it's Israeli. So IDF Farsi is a really good source of information, even though it's Israeli. Oh, Vahid Bahman. If you search for that on X, Vahid Bahman is a very good source. Nufti's account is a very good source. NUFDI RAN. They mix the I together. So if you just search for National Union for Democracy in Iran, that's Prince Reza Pahlavi's team. So that's a very good account. Murad Vaisi, obviously, his account on X is very good. Shin is a very good account. The account for Shin is hey, it's my turn. Okay, hey underscore it's my turn is the handle for Shin. Saeed Qasemi Nejad is a very good account. Saeed, so SAEED G space GHASSEMINEJAD. Obviously, Goldie Ramari's account and Emily Schrader. So you guys already know these. So no need to say, yeah, Emily Schrader and Goldie Ramari. On Iran related stuff, U.S. Central Command is very good. Oh, Manoto News. Israel Persian account. So the handle Israel Persian is a very good account. Farah Pahlavi is a good account. Farah Pahlavi, Her Majesty Queen Farah Pahlavi. What else? The ones that you mentioned already. And yeah. Oh, my account on X. You could also follow me on X. That's a good account. I mean, that's not in Persian. But these are really good sources of information if you want to follow. And oh, so we got a super chat saying the real spec is saying, can you add a thread to school that has these links? Yeah, okay, guys, in our school community, we will do that. Remind me if I don't. So here, guys are coming into our school community. The community page is free. You could come here. We make posts here and we make discussions there. So if you come here, and I'll post a link one more time to it. I'll make a post with all of these accounts, and then yeah, that's actually a good motivation for you guys to come and join our community. How about that? So yeah, let me post a link to it. The link to our discussion group on school. If you come there, these are the information that you could find there. And thank you for the super chat. We got to 5 super chats, so 5 out of 10 today. So thank you. All right, so those are the accounts. Those are the best sources.
Thank you. A couple of people want to respond. Sophie, you want to say something? Sophie, you there? No, okay. Oh, there she is. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know if you could hear me. I was waiting for the microphone to show. I was just going to say quickly to Sketch, there's actually someone that follows in Armin and Goldie's Iran Revolution Live some days. I haven't seen this person really recently, and I think they've been too busy to see or notice this person. But Armin will remember the day where there was on Regime Durka TV, they said something like, it was like 8 times, and Armin was doing Armin GPT translating. But this person was not only doing really flowing, awesome Persian to English translation, but also was catching things that Armin couldn't hear. Because if people were yelling at the Durka people on reading this stuff, like under threat of gun or whatever on camera, and this person apparently has super hearing. So we were all like, thank you, who are you? Like, thank you so much. But they were obviously busy translating, so I don't think they noticed. So I'm trying to get a hold of that person, and I will let you know and get that person to help you on the Murad Vaisi stuff, because the person would, I totally know, help and be awesome at it. Really awesome translations.
Awesome, thank you. And like I said, I would love to be able to find a way that we can also translate all of Arvin's older Persian videos. Sketch, you want to say something?
I wanted to say that I really appreciate that, but there was no way I was going to remember all that. So I think that post on Liberty discussion is very important. And I would just like to remind everybody on YouTube and anybody that sees this at a later time, you can also go in there in the comments, I believe, and put your suggestions. Of course, your suggestions may be debated, but that's also a good thing. but you would have the opportunity to make further suggestions, and I would greatly appreciate it, especially the ones in Persian, but just for everyone, the ones in English too, yours. Make sure you put yourself in there. You're super humble. It's amazing how humble you are about what you're doing here. We really appreciate, put Goldie in there, but I'm especially looking for the Persian speakers. So anybody that's trying to help me out in the comments, also trying to give me Persian people that you think are good, I will look into all that, because I'm just trying to widen the base of where I'm taking from, and I'm very thankful to you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
I wish I could do more, but it is a pleasure to be of service.
Oh, that's
Well, Sketch, we love hearing your insights. We really do. We really appreciate you being here. All right. So next topic is Jim, and he wrote right-wing pundits, pro-Islamic and anti-Jewish revisited. Could you be more specific, Jim, about the title of your topic?
Oh, I can be more specific about my topic. We were talking about this, Armin, in the group a while ago. Armin, you remember we were talking about the motivations of people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes. I'll even throw Megyn Kelly into the mix. Why they've moved from a generally, not Nick Fuentes, but the rest, generally a pro-Israel position to an anti-Israel position, and from an anti-Islamic to a pro-Islamic position. That's what I wanted to get into. I have a little more insight on that after I stepped back and saw the complete picture. So
right-wing anti-Israeli wokeism.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I figured out I was looking too deeply into this, thinking too hard. Forgive me that I overthink some things sometimes, but regardless, it's important to remember the intelligence acronym for when people turn bad and go bad for bad causes. Term called MICE. What that means is money, ideology, coercion, and ego. I was too focused on the ideological aspect of this, not seeing the money and ego. Because when you look at Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, these people were former Fox hosts. And with that position, had a huge income for salary, huge platform for fame and admiration. But when you go from Fox News to alternative media, as has happened in the economy, guess what? You lose the money and you lose that fame. So if you want to get more notoriety, but also more money, why not work with the Qataris? Why not work with people in Bahrain, Oman, Saudis, or anybody else in the Islamic world? What I'm saying is that they're selfish actors. I think in a lot of their cases, it's more to do with money and ego than it is with ideology. Certainly for Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. For Candace Owens' case, I think it's also money and ego, but she's coming from a different strain. She didn't start in the mainstream media. I believe, because a lot of people are saying she started as a left-wing agitator, but then shifted her tune when the opportunity came to join the right to get exactly that, the money and the ego boost. Nick Fuentes, out of the four, I really think is the only one who's an ideologue when he says he loves Hitler and Stalin. I think he does because he loves central planning in the economy and central planning for the social mores and social laws in the country, more or less.
Yeah, I see the same thing with Nick Fuentes. I think he's a true believer. The rest of them, I think it's complicated, because I think people lie to themselves and then convince themselves before they lie to other people. If something is convenient to believe for your views and for your finances, it's most people who go in that direction. It's not that they come out and just tell themselves like, okay, I need to lie and tell something that is obviously bullshit to people to make more money and get more views. I don't think most people, I mean, some people work like that and they're like genuine psychopaths. Okay. But I think they're few in number. I think most people, it takes too much energy to constantly having to put a mask on. So, and it's just so exhausting. And what they do instead is they first fool themselves, and they see like it's basically something deep inside that is noticing that, oh, I'm getting more rewarded the more I move into this direction. So and not very a subconscious part of your mind is noticing like, it's nicer over here. But a more conscious part of your mind is now, this is actually convincing. Okay. So there's something deep inside your mind that is noticing that I'm making more money on this side. But the part of that your mind that is louder is not that this is more comfortable financially, is that, oh, actually this sounds reasonable. So you are basically you participate in a self brainwashing process. And this is how your mind protects itself from feeling that I'm an immoral person or that I'm lying to people. So you're protecting yourself in two ways. You're protecting yourself from thinking that I'm an immoral person, and most people are not comfortable thinking that. So they have to convince themselves that this is actually the legit position to have. And also you're protecting yourself from the exhaustion of acting all the time. And most people cannot constantly act every day. That would be too exhausting. So they lie to themselves before they lie to other people. That's just basic. I'm just repeating myself now. But yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Armin, I say yes and no, because I actually came from a media background. I've been around these types. I went to school with these types, kind of changed careers after finding out kind of how they were. Not all of them, but a lot of them. It tends to reward, not just here, but many other countries of the world, just that profession. Generally, it tends to reward people of a lower moral standard, of a lower moral stature. So, I mean, we could throw around the psychological terms like you did, psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, but there's something in it as a reward in and of itself where I have more money and I have more fame and I have more adoration by jumping on the bandwagon of what's popular instead of jumping on the bandwagon of what's right. I mean, if you're around these people, Armin, in day to day, like I was years ago, you'd be surprised what you would learn around them.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
All right. Guy wants to respond.
I think we can go one by one for the main ones. And one thing is the momentum for being anti-Israel through the propaganda and lack of proper contextualizing of images from the Gaza war. So it created a momentum for this kind of thing to come up. And then Nick Fuentes was always there. He's the true believer. He paid a lot. He paid huge prices for his opinions, and now he feels vindicated. His audience grew immensely. People see that this happens. Candace Owens is, I think, also a true believer. But she's mainly a nutbag, as Sketch so eloquently put it. Like, she's borderline personality, narcissist. Ever since she came up, like the way she turned conservative is that she created a wacko website for following people and like having pictures of people. I don't remember exactly what the issue was. Something about women. And she couldn't handle the fact that people weren't worshiping her for this website and thinking that it was problematic. And that was like, wait, there's no way it's actually problematic. It must be that all the liberals that I always hung around with are actually hypocrites and so on. And that was the reason that she turned to the right. She is incapable of being wrong in her mind. And she married a Catholic of the, how you're a classical liberal. He's a classical Catholic. That's less wholesome. That's pre-Vatican II Catholic, meaning the Jews are to blame for everything. She married him 2 weeks after meeting him. Something there is just not right, and the show saw her whole personality twisted in that direction, and she just became a full-blown anti-Semite.
Yeah,
having
George Farmer is also a British lord, by the way. That's another thing to remember there, guy.
Is that her husband?
Yes, George Farmer. He is also a British lord. He's tied to the old aristocracy there.
Okay. At the same time, she's also a grifter. Like the Charlie thing, I don't think she definitely doesn't believe that. It's just a good way to feel important. And okay, so that was Nick, Candace. Tucker, I think, has a lot of grievance against a lot of people, and some of those people are Jewish. And he, I'm not sure if he needs the money. I think he took the money. First of all, he had Omid Malik, who's funding TCN, Tucker Carlson Network, who's is a conservative Muslim. I don't know what his position in Israel is. It wouldn't surprise me if it's negative. That's his known financier, and he has a lot of grievances from the people at Fox that like he feels betrayed him. Now he never had a backbone. Like we have the recordings of him actually secretly hating Trump, and being very willing to talk about whatever on screen. And he's also very cunning. I think he's actually on a mission to destroy some things in the West. I wouldn't be surprised if he's personally in touch with Dugin from Russia, or at the very least, like people who espouse Dugin's philosophy. And he's actually just trying to turn America into a theocracy. In that sense, he's actually in bed with Fuentes. I think he turned towards Fuentes' side, and is willing to lie as much as necessary to get there. Megan, I think, because she's friends with Candace and she's friends with Tucker, and a lot of her audience are Tucker and Candace watchers, she just said, "Oh wait," and she recently even said this out loud. I actually can get a lot of Muslim viewers to watch my show if I dunk on Israel, and there's way more Muslims than Jews. And Megan is just a grifter, like completely, utterly, totally a grifter. This is my position, and if you don't like it, I have another one to offer you. That's basically her thing. Like she's just someone who's in it for the money, and now this is where she sees the money, not necessarily from Americans, but definitely viewers, both from Candace and Tucker, and also several Middle Eastern countries.
Thank you, Guy. Sketch, you're next.
One thing that Candace did that a lot of these other people didn't do, you're right, she does come from the left. Her royal hubby buddy, I think it was Andrew Tate that introduced Candace to that guy. I don't know what the relation. I know he's a pimp, according to himself. That's what Andrew Tate says he is, right? In his videos, he would be like, "Now you know that the OnlyFans girls has this guy from India. Who's the one that's really sending the messages. That used to be Andrew Tate's job," and that's what he says. And he had like a grooming gang university course that he doesn't talk about anymore. But that's just what Andrew Tate is and does. So I don't know how he became a model of the right, but whatever. But that's kind of the relationship, right? Between those three people. They got like a little triangle over there. It's kind of weird. Now, what Candace also did that's making her famous now is that he formatted it for female viewers. He made it a soap opera. He made it about feelings. He had a little mystery at the end. She had a little mystery at the end of every chapter. And next time, I'm going to tell you this, thing I found and this evidence. And this person came forward. She made it into a soap opera. And that, especially with the Charlie Kirk thing, that's what really had her pick up like some steam. She is formatting it for women, but she's a total lefty. She tried to. She never really changed. She was doing cancel culture, basically on other people. She just changed targets. She didn't change her methods much, right? And because the left itself didn't like her, she found herself out of favor after, I think it was Social Autopsy was the site she made for shaming people online, and she used to work, be like in the C-suite of a leftist marketing firm, like a political firm. So that's where she comes from. I believe she is crazy, but not. Let me see, crazy like a fox. I would say, like she knows the stuff she's saying is insane. She might kind of sort of believe it, but it might kind of be sort of convenient. And Tucker, you can find lots of videos of Tucker saying the exact opposite of the things he says now about Iran, about Islam in America. You can find him saying the opposite things. There's other people in the background that are just like there was this guy Dan Blazarian. He was very anti-Israel. Turns out he's 12% Jewish. So I don't, a lot of these people are scammers and grifters, right? Nick, I don't know about Nick. People call him a true believer, but some of his claims about being debanked, some of his claims about all the things he suffered might not hold up or be as serious as he claims, right? His suffering, his comf, as people would say, is not as clear. What did he suffer that much, or was just he fucking poor, right? He didn't have a lot of money, which a lot of people go through that. Was he really debanked, or was there a whole bunch of regulation things that didn't get done right, and it would have happened to anybody, and it wasn't really about religion or ideology? There's a lot of things about Tucker that doesn't mean that he doesn't believe what he's saying, but that makes me believe that he's exaggerating what he's gone through. That not Tucker, I mean Nick. There's a lot of things about Nick that make me think he's exaggerating his suffering and how much he really paid his dues. I have a lot of doubts. So I would move out of Chicago, just in general. I would recommend that to everybody. He shouldn't be there. That's why he has so many trouble in that place. But having trouble in that place leads to him having these problems. So he had some nuts show up at his place. Well, why are you in Chicago? If you can move, move. I mean, you know what you're saying is inflammatory. There's a lot of stuff that he knows he's wrong about or lying. Like, oh, we give all this money to Israel. No, we don't. We give them a discount. We give them like a 15 to 20% discount, and they have to spend it on our stuff, which is stuff that gives us jobs, stuff that we manufacture, so they over in Israel can go defend our commerce and especially our oil without us having to put our carriers there and our blood. So he's just lying about that. A lot of people lie about that. And I see him as kind of like faking the funk. Not maybe he does believe what he's saying, but I suffered, I paid my dues. I got my doubts on Nick about that. And Candace is crazy like a fox. Like, she's packaging it for women. He's just like, a man looks at her and they just said, this is nuts. But women, when they see it, it's a soap opera. It's a mystery. It always ends on a cliffhanger. Like I've talked to conservative women that tells me, no, this is what she's doing. And when you look at it, you see a couple of episodes of cliffhangers. You're like, oh, I get it. Just a soap opera.
Thank you. Samantha, you're next.
That was an amazing summary.
Yeah, I was also gonna bring up like I did about like with Megyn Kelly, how she's friends with like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, who, I mean, the timeline of it was they went anti-Israel first before her. So what I'm kind of suspecting is, I think that she probably maybe felt like some sort of guilt about not about staying so friendly with them, or maybe like either that or like someone like kind of shamed her for staying friendly with them when they were going like very anti-Israel, or some combination of the two, and like she ended up just like publicly going on a rant about how like about how like pro-Israel people are like engaging in cancel culture and being too aggressive, and then she probably got like a bunch of likes and attention over that, and then like whether it was some combination of like the emotional response she got of like validating her upset feelings, or increase in views after like publicly expressing upsetness, and then that probably led to her going in a certain direction. That's just my theory.
Thank you, Samantha. We have about 5 more minutes left, and we have 2 people to respond, and I'll say something real quick at the end if we have time. Dajjal, you're next.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Candace Owens. She started on the left. She had a website called socialautopsy.com. She was actually involved in Gamergate. She was on the feminist side of Gamergate, going after conservative gamers and talking about all the chuds and the gamers are misogynistic and blah blah blah, all that bullshit. She used to work with Al Sharpton. Dana Lash sort of talks to those, actually calls her Gal Sharpton as a result of that, which I think is pretty fitting. She is a grifter. She used to be an evangelical Christian, or at least pretended to be one. She was pro-Israel. She bashed Islam, and now ever since she met her gay British aristocratic husband, she's a devout Catholic, SSPX. Just like him, Vatican I, English Mass Catholic. Vatican I, Latin Mass Catholic, rather. Hates the Jews. Speaks of the, hates the Jews, the perfidious Jews. Thinks Pope Pius XII was the last legitimate pope. And that's pretty much where she comes in with that. So yeah.
Thank you, Dajjal. Jeffrey, very quickly, because Armin needs to read some super chats as well.
You bet. So, Jim mentioned MICE. It's a very apt acronym or framework. One of the other ones that the CIA kind of expanded on that in 2013 is called RASCALS, and it kind of helps with regards to the environment you're in. RASCALS stands for reciprocation. People feel obligated to repay favors or gifts. Authority, compliance increases with perceived expertise, power, prestige. Scarcity, limit or rare opportunities feel more valuable and create urgency. Commitment or consistency, so you have small initial agreements to larger ones. I like the beginnings to ask for larger asks. Liking, people are more easily influenced by those they like. And here's the main one: social proof. People look for what others are doing as a guide for correct behavior. They had MICE R, which deals with, it's MICE plus revenge. That's how they kind of focus with regards to the Chinese Communist Party. It's the social proof that very much is being leveraged here by contemporary U.S. adversaries. Guy very much rightly brought up Dugin, Alexander Dugin, who is sometimes called the Putin Whisperer. He wrote a book called Foundation of Geopolitics, which very much talks about co-opting, amplifying, and or creating internal political dissidence. And it's very much the origins for an amplification of a lot of the superficial overlap between Islamic fundamentalism and the hard right that evolved as a co-radicalized response to the radical left created by Soviet active measures and amplified by contemporary adversaries. What does all that mean? It means that people are busy on picking which team they're supporting, when really both teams are actually being supported by our adversaries to foment unrest and paralyze the United States.
Thank you very much. That was all of our responses. I just wanted to say one thing. I, as an Iranian Armenian, I find it extremely disgusting that we have, in all of this camp, we have two of the people in this camp are Armenians. And especially Ana Kasparian, the neurotic lunatic who likes to speak over Iranian Armenians while we don't have any voices coming out from there. She needs to shut the fuck up and sit down and stop speaking over us. Because we are against the regime. We Iranian Armenians are against the Islamic Republic, Ana Kasparian. You don't know anything about living under the Islamic Republic, and you don't get to speak over Iranian Armenians just because you know a couple or you claim you have family there. So you don't know anything, and you need to sit down and just stop talking. Thank you very much. Armin, you can read your super chats.
Okay, this is why I want Nara to have her own YouTube channel and for us to promote it, because we don't how many Iranian Armenians are out there giving us that angle and that perspective? Do we?
What was that? What was your question?
How many, we need you are a great representative of that perspective, and we need you out there, right? So That's why I'm hoping one day you will have your YouTube channel and everything.
I'm trying, I'm just going slowly, so maybe I'll just
Okay.
try here to speak on it a little bit and then see what happens.
Okay. All right. So let me read the super chats. Every time you open your mic, you don't open your mic often, but every time you do, it's just like some really good points and information. So I'm hoping that's why I'm trying to, guys, help me peer pressure like Nara to get her to start a YouTube channel or something. Okay. So let me go through the super chats. And guys, we actually got to 10 super chats. I didn't expect that. So thank you. Casey saying, fucker Katarlson is paid by MEK. Hey, I don't think MEK has gotten to him yet, but he's a good candidate. So don't give them any ideas. He's actually a great candidate for the MEK. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Why are you giving them ideas? And then we have Ida. I remember Ida saying, I must confess, I don't really care how you pronounce my name. Both ways are fine by me. Oh, I used to call her Ida. No, Ida. It's Ida. I remember it's Ida. You have enough on your plate. You don't need to try to remember it every time. Laugh emoji, heart emoji. Hey, I love you all. I love you too. And Ida was telling you guys that she loves you guys too in the discussion. And thank you, Ida. Thank you so much for the support. And Ida with another super chat saying, and thank you for what you do. Oh, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the super chat. And Dominic was encouraging everybody to get to 10 super chat, saying 10 out of 10. Let's go. Thank you so much, Dominic. And then Ida kept on giving us super chats until we got to 10 super chats. Ida was saying, and hello to the lovely people in the discussion group. That was Ida to you guys. And then last super chat, Ida was saying word Nare. So that was for Nare. Saying word. Okay. Well, thank you guys for all the support. And thank you for making this possible to keep all of this alive and all the support. So thank you guys. You have no idea, because to keep all of this going, I've canceled so many other things to be able to do this. So the support really means a lot. So thank you. Okay, guys, the conversation continues in the discussion group without me. So I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to end the recording. So that means that the conversation from now on is not going to be recorded. It's not going to be live streamed. So you could all share your darkest secrets with each other. Just kidding. Don't do that. But that means like,
What?
What? Yes, go ahead.
Armin, Guy wants to say one sentence.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, now it's okay. I just wanted to say that one reason I think Nick Fuentes is honest is because he himself has said that he often contradicts himself, and that's true. He is a white supremacist, devout Christian who's a gay Mexican. That's a lot of contradiction.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Okay, so I'm gonna head out, and you guys continue the conversations with me, and I'll do my next stream in about 30 minutes. So Liberty Politics people, I'll see you guys in 30 minutes, and people in our discussion group, Liberty Politics discussion group, I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time. So I'm Israel Chai, long live America, Javid Shah, Payandeiran. See you guys tomorrow.